You good? Alright, it is 6 o'clock, so call the meeting to order. WPS Warriors.
Must be username. Maybe not.
Should be your email, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Warriors, lowercase.
That I get you?
Hmm?
Get you?
Mhm.
Try,
What's my actual password to mine?
you. Here, nobody has that.
I don't know.
I think.
These are your
You are on
first.
camera.
Huh? Oh. Oh. Let's do that.
Here, I got you. Maybe.
I've never seen it.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Which one's on? It's Michael.
Oh, I did,
No capitals.
No,
yeah. Oh, it's
yeah.
not?
Thank you. Thank you, Renee. You should have, you could have let us go for a while, but.
No, it's all right.
I'll share with
I'll
you.
share.
Okay, the meeting was called to order. Take roll call. Alyssa, please.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bob.
We will need a motion to excuse Bob from the meeting. He did let us know.
I'll make a motion that we excuse Bob.
Second.
Any discussion? Alyssa?
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
All right, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's a copy of the Open Meetings Act on the wall. Feel free to. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve said agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or amendments or discussion? Alyssa?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
3.1 minutes from the May meeting. Any changes, amendments, corrections that need to be done or said? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion further? Alyssa?
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
3.2 claims, there's the Elon service claim for 2 months. There was not one in May. Is there a motion to approve the claims? I did review the claims on behalf of Bob. Alyssa did have them ready, so I did look them over. Lots of curriculum, modification, assessments, tools. Just a lot of summer purchases, getting ready for the school season. Is there a motion to approve all of the claims with the exception of the Elon service?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion of said claims. Alyssa?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the Elon service claim?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Abstain?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
For informational items, as every month, the treasurer's report in there, listing funds, details of those said funds. 4.2, policy review, Brandon.
Okay, lots of policies to go through. I got the update from KSB based on legislation. Sent the email out to you guys last week for you to take a peek at the red lines. I have just a little bit of commentary on each of them that we'll go through fairly quickly. I'm sure there's a couple that you want to discuss. Just stop me if you have questions or if we need further discussion. I'm going to go in numerical order, starting with 1002. That has to do with policies, creation, amendment, and distribution. Basically what they did is they removed listing the individual policies and just had a statement about the review of policies. That way it doesn't have to change as new policies come into effect or out of effect. And it was not required, but was highly recommended. Any comments there? Okay. 2006 complaint, I believe that has to do, they removed some references from Biden administration Title IX back to Trump administration Title IX. It is a required change because it does have to do with Title IX, but the language is fairly small. 3003 construction, this came from, I don't know, whatever the group is, the architect union. They wanted to raise the exemption requirement from 119,000 to 144,000. So if you do a project that's less than 144,000, you would be exempt from having to involve an architect potentially. Over that, it would be mandated that you utilize them. That is required change. 3004.1 fiscal management, very small citation change on page 11, section G. They left out just a small reference that adds the reference in. It was a clerical error on their part, getting it fixed. 3023, record management. The very last paragraph in that policy was added to cover federal award records and dictate what our practices have to be when it comes to federal awards and records management. 3026 with handbooks. There were some small clarifications. I'm going to open that one real quick. Basically what it's, well, okay, there's two parts to this. You'll see the red line part. The blue is actually a change that we made for our individual policy, so I had to add that back in to their red line version, just so you know it's there. It's keeping that practice that you guys put in place when we did this a couple years ago. Essentially what it says is the administration can change the handbook as long as it doesn't change policy. And if any change is made, notice is given to parents and students potentially impacted. You don't, if you print handbooks still, you don't have to reprint the whole handbook. We put ours online. We would just give an electronic notice that, hey, this section changed. Please reference that in the handbook. We added that the board would be given notice if any changes were made, 30 days. Okay. 3036, really small change in language. It changed from seeking reimbursement to making a purchasing card purchase. So instead of talking about the reimbursement on the backside, they're talking about authorization to utilize a purchase card to make a purchase up front. Very small change. They felt like that was a required change. 3043, design build. It's language, a lot of language change. It's a required change. The meat and potatoes of it is it separates it. I think it's 896,000. Yeah, 896,000. So the timelines change with a performance criteria developer if a project is less than $896,000 as compared to over $896,000. That clarifies it within the policy. There's some other language changes that they're saying are required.
Question on that.
Yep.
Was the PCD required in the old version? Was it mandatory?
If you can give me just a second, I will tell you. I believe it was. Yeah, it was number 7 in our old one. Definitions for this policy, rules, procedures, selecting, hiring, PCD for a specific project, it was in there.
So we're gonna have to do that if we do design build on the track.
Correct.
Do we know how much that drives cost us?
I don't have an estimate for that right now. I will have all that stuff for us in July documents, and I can get that info. Other questions? Okay. 3047, data breach, not required, highly recommended. Adds a couple of requirements as far as tracking and reporting. They're things that we do anyway. It's not going to change our practice. It's just clarified within policy. 3057, Title IX. This might require just a little bit of conversation. They provide 2 different versions. They provide what they call a slim version and a full version. I think I sent you guys kind of the pros and cons of going either way. It reverts back to 2020 Trump administration, Title IX. Their full version isn't quite as long as it was previously, but it's still plenty of pages long. The slim version is a very cut down version. I will do my best to answer questions.
Can you remind me, which did KSB recommend?
They recommend either, that's why they sent both.
Either one.
Essentially, the way that they put it to me is the slim version, either is defensible. The slim version is a lot easier to apply and administer. The full version would be fully covered under Trump administration. The caveat there is federal judgment that basically says Title IX should be reverting back to 50 years ago, nullifying both Trump and Biden administrations on Title IX.
And the slim version avoids that problem?
No, the slim version, yes, is following that judgment. The full version would be aligning with 2020 and 2024 administration.
Does the slim version provide enough guidance to our coordinator on how to handle this?
It provides more flexibility.
Who's our coordinator?
Mr. Berry. And if you need more time to digest, this
I
is
would.
just a first reading.
Yep.
We will need to approve something in July so it can take effect. Yeah, we'll come back. If you can let me know where you're at, or let policy committee know where you're at, just so we have a heads up before we get to next month, hopefully come with a recommendation for you. Okay?
And just to clarify, KSB said either one or something.
Correct. Yep, that's why they sent them both. The other part of that is they said it's probably 50-50, a coin flip. About half the districts that they've seen are going slim, half the districts they've seen are going their full version. 4051, social media. These changes based on recent court rulings and landscape with social media, which changes all the time. It puts a few more guardrails with any employees that offer social media as part of the school district, as far as what they have to provide in the district. 4057, superintendent evaluation, some slight changes. Basically, it allows for the evaluation to occur outside of a board meeting or in closed session if desired. It's not a required change. They titled it highly recommended. Essentially, the superintendent evaluation could or could not be done at a board meeting. That would be their choice. I think I would recommend putting it in policy, because you still have the choice of how you want to handle that. It gives you flexibility that way. 4059, health training. It was previously simply suicide training. This expands for all the different health trainings that we have to do. It's a required change. Length of training is a reasonable amount is determined. 5001 attendance required. What they said removes procedures that were inconsistently adopted and set specific deadlines for reporting of absences. This is another one where we had an arbitrary number of days put in. I put those days into the red line version so it was consistent with what we had previously, and then we can add what they had added to it.
Is this the current version of our policy? I thought we had tightened this up last year.
As far as which part?
What, that list of excused absences?
That I will go back and visit. I looked at the days list. Let me go back and look at that.
Because there's really nothing that's not an excused absence under this one.
Yep. Yep, I will check that and make sure that that's accurate. Thank you, Renee. 5015, pupil rights, references policy 5018, which is also a policy we have. If I skip down to 5018, parental involvement, it reflects changes in state statute regarding parental guardian access, testing, curriculum, surveys, any of that stuff is clarified per statute. So 5015 and 5018 kind of tie together. 5016 with student records adds a reference to district law enforcement for law enforcement purposes, not required, highly recommended. I went back and forth on this as to whether even to bring this up because we don't, the way I read it, we don't have district law enforcement, like an SRO or anybody within the district. If we were to ever go that route, we wouldn't have to change policy if this policy was adopted. I'm either way. Nothing I'm strongly committed to. Like I said, I went back and forth. 5031 student appearance. Legislature set NDE with the expectation that they provide a model policy for student appearance. The policy is written and consistent with that NDE model. A lot of it had to do with heritage or religious dress. There's other pieces with it. It's consistent with the NDE model. 6025, cell phones. They also talked about cell phone policies at the unicameral. We're required to have a cell phone policy, so what we have technically works. The only question regarding that policy is now within statute, there's got to be public input, and whether having public comment at board meetings satisfies that for the board's purposes, or if there's something else that the board wants to do for that, that would be up to you guys.
So it looks like what you attached is not our current policy. I guess I'm wondering why we're going backwards on that. What's attached didn't even recommend inclusion for public comment. This draft doesn't have anything about that.
Let me take a peek here.
Seems like we should start from our current policy and then have KSB tell us what they think is permissible in terms of public comment.
And I talked to them about this with the public comment piece. And it's essentially going back on the board because you guys have a requirement to take public input, not necessarily public comment. But what signifies or justifies that? If public comment at a board meeting or any board meeting satisfies that in your mind, that has been achieved. If there's something more that the board wants to do, whether that's a survey tool, a public hearing, any of those things, that would also satisfy that.
We have another policy that requires that, right?
We have
American.
Americanism.
Yeah.
is a committee that requires a public
Here,
meeting.
meeting, yes.
We have.
Or maybe student fees or
Student
there's
fee,
something.
we have, I wanna say there's two, student fees and bullying, I think, require hearings, and they're in my list to go through that we do in July. But two of them specifically require public hearings for anybody to comment on. So if you wanted to add cell phones to the list, we could do that policy as a public hearing.
I mean, it just seems like we have a practice, why not just throw that on the list?
Yeah.
And
Right.
write that into the policy that we have?
Okay. I will, I'll talk to KSB and see how we do that.
I'm
I'm
not
good.
strongly wedded to that, it just seems like we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
And that would definitely cover us. Okay. Anything else? Cell phones? Okay.
Just
Yeah,
real
sorry.
quick, have you gotten any feedback, did the policy work this year?
Yes.
Any different perspectives from teachers or admins?
No, not really. I think the one thing that has to be done is consistent implementation.
Correct.
I think we have a few teachers that took some liberties that will need some oversight.
So we need to address that with them.
Yeah. Yep. Other than that, I think it went as well as we could expect it to go. 6031, emergency exclusion, fixed a discrepancy in the hearing section. Concussions, changed the, or 6034 concussions, changed the training requirement listed. There's two new policies as a result of legislation, 6044, participation in athletics, 6045, behavioral intervention. I'll work backwards, 6045, behavioral. It's a new policy. Indy had to provide a model. KSB did the policy. I hate to read this. Adopt policy consistent or comparable to the model policy. They went the comparable route to make it applicable. 6044, participation in athletics. This is women in sports, if you've heard of that. Essentially what it's asking the board to do is designate gender of athlete that can participate in athletic events. And so if you look within the policy, everything that's highlighted in yellow we need to address, but it would be designating male and female, whether those teams exist, whether it's co-ed teams, whether it's a single gender activity.
And so this list obligates us to provide, like bowling and unified bowling. We must provide a male team, we must provide a female team, and we must provide a
It would
co-ed.
cover regardless of how we would do that.
Okay, so it's more of a, any of the three.
Correct. It's not mandatory that we provide all these things. If we provide these activities, how can participation be organized? And it may take some time to chew on it. Like I said, we don't have to approve it here, but if there was any discussion or any questions I can answer, I would do my best.
What's the NSA's, what's their document state? For
I don't know that we've received anything from the NSAA yet.
What's it been in the past? Yeah,
Okay.
on sports wise, how they determining what sports are only boys, girls,
I don't have that answer
birth
off
certificate?
the top of my head.
Okay.
Where did this notice come from? Did KSB, or is this a model notice?
This is policy
Or
from
model
KSB
policy.
based on LB 89. excuse me, if you have questions, if you think of things, send them to me. I will get the answers you need to make an informed decision. I also put in there the activity handbook, the staff handbook, the student handbook as presented by KSB. Understand this looks differently than ours because we combine our activity and student handbook. Those handbooks are gonna reflect the policies that we have in place, and then any policies that would change from KSB that we need to implement in our handbooks. So this is strictly a reference. The principals are meeting, I think, next week to sort through their handbooks and try to have placeholders for policy changes.
This version also seems like we went backwards, so there's some
On
things, well, the one that stood out to me was what our policy was on kids who were behind paying for lunch. So like a lot of those, we've already gone through, we've made
Correct.
decisions, now it's like we're going back to make new decisions.
No, we will not. We will take the handbook that we had last year and move that forward. This is just a reference for what KSB provided. So you had something, otherwise I would send last year's handbook to you, but it would have none of the updated policy information within it.
So can we get a red line then that actually takes our
When-
current
Yes,
red line in the things that KSB says must change, so we don't have to start
yeah,
from the
as
beginning?
the principals work through that, I will get it sent to you ahead of next month's meeting.
Great.
With the cell phone policy, our district policy is actually the staff handbook, so they should have to follow the policies, correct?
Yes,
If there's some latitude being
Right.
taken, it should be.
right. So next month, we'll have policies to approve. We'll also have some annual reviews of policies that we need to go through. Usually don't take long. We haven't made any adjustments to them. We'll have a couple of policy hearings, and then we'll move forward.
Any closing questions for Brandon? Onward and upward. 4.3, budget update, Brandon.
Okay, quarterly budget update, general fund. I look at general fund, look at special education allocation, and then look at the total budget. The months have percentages next to them. That would be the percent if all were equally spent every month. So you're looking at the, whatever it is, 8.33% a month that would be spent. March, we'd be at 58.3. April, we'd be 2/3 of the way there. May, 3/4 of the way there. You'll see in March, general fund was just over 50%, special education almost 46, the total 49.5. So trending about 9% lower. April at 66.7, the total was at 56. May at 75, the total was at 63.7. We're on a good track as far as the budget goes. I also add in there percent spent on staff with salary and benefits. I do break that out. You'll see May, June, and maybe even July is going to be lower than that 80% mark because that's when we're paying for all of our curriculum, technology, supplies, all those things that get ordered in the spring kind of come in one big glut. So don't misinterpret that percent spent on staff. We're still spending the same amount. It's just as a percentage of what was spent that month will be lower.
Remind me, is it percentage that particular month?
That's what
That
I've
specific
shown.
month?
Yep.
Okay.
What do you attribute the underrun to?
Pardon me?
The fact that we're, total 63.7% by May,
Yep.
and we should be at 75, why are we under?
So when we construct budgets, we have to show that every dollar is expended when we put that together, when in reality, we're going to not spend every dollar because we want to have carryover balance to pay for the months in between tax askings. So we try to, at least I've tried to, somewhere between $4.5, $5.5 million to start a new budget year because that's gonna be 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So we have a cash reserve number in the budget, which is money that we won't touch. It still comes in taxes, we don't budget into expenditures. So if that's at 2.5, we need to have roughly another 2.5 that doesn't get spent out of the budget that can then be carried forward.
Are you where you want to be?
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, if we are at anywhere less than 90%, I feel pretty good, 85%, I feel really good.
At what point?
At the
End of the
At the end of the fiscal
fiscal
year, yeah. Yep, so we're trending in a good direction. Any other questions budget-wise? Okay,
4.4, discussion of construction items of interest.
I'll just start and then you guys can pepper me, I'll get my talking out of the way. No, I don't feel as good this month as I did last month. The LVT in the cafeteria is still supposed to happen this month. We did not have our OAC today, we're having it on Wednesday. Stuff didn't align, so I don't have an update today. When we met 2 weeks ago, that was still on track for June. Concrete getting replaced and poured. That seems to be going okay. I haven't walked it yet, I definitely haven't driven it yet. That's gonna be more my measurement than me going out and looking at something, especially on the drive, the way that is. Carpet, I don't have the number on the carpet in the commons around the office that we're gonna replace, that's 60% MCL, 40% us. That's gonna move forward. I don't have that number yet. That was another question I had for today. The HVAC is a struggle right now. Like today, half of area A, the middle school pod right out here, the north half was out, upstairs was out, but the south half worked. And I think 2 weeks ago, the entire area G, the new addition, went down. There's something from the chiller, the pump origin, that is sending things into alarm, and that shuts those pumps down, and then you have to manually override those one at a time. That's getting
So is it a control
beyond
issue?
frustrating.
Controls?
I can't answer that for sure. I know JCI is the only one that has access right now to that imaging with controls. So like SES, mechanical sales, even us to a degree, don't have the access we need necessarily to tell that. The other question is the design and programming at the chiller and essentially home base. Why that loop is closing as it's trying to run cold water. Because it gets a low pressure or a high pressure and it shuts the pumps down, and it's frustrating.
Is that under MCL's contract?
What's that?
Whatever's going on here?
Still, yes. So the warranty on everything that we have, none of that has started yet.
So nothing's turned over as yet. So that's all their babies.
MCL needs to get it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go into August, we can't start school that way.
Correct.
So if
Can't
we,
start in the middle of September.
is it time for us to bring Tony and team back?
I will tell you after, I'll tell you after Wednesday. The other one, which I'll tell you after Wednesday, the concrete floor, I had sent pictures and emails about getting a rougher finish and then polish on the concrete floor, which MCL was fine with. We're gonna move forward with it, and then the contractor informed MCL that that was within the range of acceptance and they weren't doing anything. And so BBH, Russ, and myself informed MCL that it wasn't within the range of acceptable and they needed to get it figured out with the contractor. We don't have an answer yet.
But isn't that, they can say, they can use that about everything anymore.
Sure. I mean, they can say it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're holding the money.
Yeah.
Are we holding money on that?
Well, retainage, that's why you hold a
Right.
really healthy retainage.
Yeah,
Which
my
we
point
are
is though,
right
is
now.
not even that, I mean, it's not right.
Yeah.
So I don't hold any money, you fix it or you give us money back.
Right, no, but I mean, the leverage comes whether you're chasing money or holding money. So MCL just needs to get it figured out, sort it out with your son.
Yeah. I'll have more answers on Wednesday. I hope.
What's MCL's position, other than conveying what their sub's position is?
They're having to play middleman a little bit right now, because I have communication with Brian that says, yeah, it's something that needs addressed. He and I have had face-to-face conversation. It's gonna be, I don't remember the number, 80,000 or something to do the entire hallway. He agreed that it was not acceptable, something needed to be done. And then at our OAC meeting 2 weeks ago, that's when he came back and said, well, Heartland said they're not doing anything. And we just said no.
Does MCL pay Heartland?
Well, but also too, is I think we sat in a meeting with the MCL and that very thing, I remember the words were, yes, that's not acceptable, we will take care of that.
Yeah.
That
And that's
came,
what you have from Brian in an email, correct?
yeah, I mean, so
Just, I'll keep plugging away. This is more information than anything else. This is a little bit me beating my head against the wall, but we'll get there.
And the other thing too, does MCL have a plan B?
As
Great,
far
if your
as-
sub who did the work doesn't wanna come back, bring in another sub and charge it back to your sub who
Right,
didn't meet quality.
yeah. We're gonna find out on Wednesday.
See if there's a plan B.
Same person in the parking lot now, so you ready for that?
yeah, I was just gonna say, I would,
That's right.
that's not fixed, whatever they did
Which part?
on the back.
On the drive?
Yeah,
Okay,
it ain't good. I mean, the little bit they did,
right.
it's great, but the rest ain't. Well, they're basically taking the worst and cutting it out and saying, oh, the other should be accepted, that's why they're gonna,
Heartland did that or
it's,
Brian?
it's not acceptable. It's rough, it's not
Yeah.
good.
So,
But the football field looks good, actually,
it's still not done, but it's
It's
much better than
much
it
better.
was. It's still not done.
how's the elevator coming?
It's blocked, I was just out there today, it's blocked up, they've got the doorway. I've not been inside to see the mechanicals, but next step, it looks like for the most part, the blocks are in place. Next step would be bricking outside as far as appearance,
Can we get
functionality, I don't know.
Functionality by school?
It's supposed to be August 1. But like I said, I'm less convinced today than I was last month, unfortunately.
And that punch list, the big punch list, what are we down to?
The big punch list from the beginning of the year?
No, when we had, last time we met with MCI, you had a whole bunch
Yeah,
of. big-
it's less, it's still nowhere near done, but it's far less.
Have we resolved the block work? Is that fixed, done?
The block work.
Oh, the veneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
And that's done?
And the floors look good. Now, what about what about the stalls?
They're all getting replaced.
Good.
Good.
And you can no longer see into the restroom from,
Nope.
there's a door there now, right?
Yep.
Good.
What other construction questions we got?
Making progress.
Well, let's just get it done.
Yes.
We'll forget about it in 3 months when it's done.
Yeah, but what we don't wanna do is bring Tony in when we do not have enough time to get this done before school starts. So if we need to do that at the beginning of July, let's get him down
And is,
here.
are fees still kicking in every day? Okay. That's what we can do.
I'm starting to think we'll have an elevator right out of this first, but nothing else to be done. Or at least we'll have an elevator right now, which would be nice.
AC would be good too.
There's still a lot to do,
We got a floor in the cafeteria.
Why aren't they punching the cafeteria?
because it's not done. Two things, one, that LVTS come up and they gotta lay it back down. Secondly, the bulkhead where the gate slides
Yeah.
had like a wood veneer on it
Mhm.
that they couldn't make work, so they had to order a different product that's taken a while. They were in there today, I didn't see them put anything up, but it looked like they were measuring and ready to put stuff up.
Is the product in now, do you know?
I do not off the top of my head. That would have been another question for today's meeting if we would have had it.
Can you maybe give us just a quick email update on Wednesday
Yep.
after your OLC meeting?
What else? Okay, thank you.
Moving on, 4.5, and sequential index, we are not going to discuss because they don't provide reports during summer months of June and July. 4.5.7, Brandon.
Nothing unless you got questions. I attached it there.
Brandon?
Yeah.
Just real quick, the lunch contract, are we addressing that later or addressing, we don't have an action item related to that, correct?
No, you gave me the authority to execute a contract.
I just was curious,
We-
what did
we-
it come,
yeah.
yeah, what was, when you asked for best and final, is
Yeah.
that different from, is the 40,000 different from what it was before
Yes,
you did that?
but before it was 30,000 was the
Okay.
guaranteed money. Now it is at 40,000 with the guaranteed money on the single year contract that can roll 5 times before we have to bid it out again.
Gotcha.
Great,
So it was improved, I think. Lunchtime Solutions will do a good job.
And they start talking to our current staff.
We emailed out last week. They have a meeting with them on Monday. And my conversation with Susan, they want everybody that wants to be here, so
Good.
there's opportunities.
Good job.
last
Yep.
question for you on your
You bet.
report. You said you have the initial documents for the track RFP?
Yep.
Any reason we haven't seen those yet? Why you haven't sent those out?
We were gonna wait till the July meeting,
Okay.
that's all. Yep.
And then, obviously, we're not gonna be able to do, nothing's happening here this summer. Do we have any guess on when we would have, would have to have some sort of decision made to make sure that we're getting the good contractors?
Yep, so as long as we have, which I would hope we're able to do it before that, but as long as we have decisions made by the end of the calendar year, we are right in line with what their calendar does. By starting in July with documents and talking through the performance piece and then the design bid piece, or design build piece, and all of those, we can get that done ahead of time, where by mid-fall, late fall, you guys could probably have done what you need to get done and get on it.
Get on it, calendar
Yeah.
for top tier.
Yeah, so we have time.
Great.
Any questions for Brandon? Moving on, 4.6 communications, I didn't have any attached, there was nothing, correct? Okay. 4.7 audience comments, I think we're gonna skip that section tonight too. 4.8 board committee reports. Any committees meet? I don't remember. When are we, do we have our hearing early this year for America?
Next month.
Next month.
Yep. Josh would like to do it next month.
Down to the action items, 5.1, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action to increase the classified staff wages for 2025-26 school year.
Total package, my recommendation's 4% across the classified staff as a whole. That would be up to 4%, would be right in line with what the certificated staff got. What that would move is that would move for like our paras, that starting wage would then be able to be moved to $14.50 or darn close to it, with the idea that we're trying to get to that $15 number, even though we got a load of paras. So that would be my recommendation.
Don't we have to be at $15 January 1? We're not subject to that. But we're competing against
Yes.
everyone else, so are we sure 4% is enough?
If you, Go ahead.
From a dollar standpoint, can we afford to get to 15?
Yeah, starting.
To start 15?
okay,
That to me is the number I would rather know.
okay,
If
Let me pull it
budget
up.
wise and all that, we can do that, we better be at least at 15.
Even if we have to cut back somewhere else.
Those are the backbone of this district, with the teachers. what's 15 get us, I mean, 15 and up?
Probably not, but it's better than
No, it is, I agree.
1450.
To get to 15, you're probably looking at about 250,000 additional dollars, just in classified staff.
And do we have the money?
If that's what you wanna do, I will.
No, you gotta,
It's. Do. I would get, I'm gonna say yes, but it's gonna be contingent on, so every year we have to do that access to additional funds, that 6%.
correct.
Resolution. As long as we can continue to do that, I'm gonna say yes.
And let's look where we can cut back elsewhere. I mean, where can we save expenses?
When you talk expenses, rough numbers historically, 80 to 85% is staff, 10% is fixed costs, energy, water, sewer, all that business. 5 to 10% is curriculum and supplies. So it would come from that last 5 to 10% potentially.
Okay, let's look.
Okay.
If we do the,
So-
but you feel comfortable if we as a board decide that the time comes to go up to 6%, to vote on it, to go up to above the 3 to the 6, right?
Yes.
The override,
Yeah.
you feel you're,
Yeah, we would absolutely have to do that, but yes.
but yes, at that point, and then we can, while we wait for that, we can see if there's some other opportunities to do it. But I just think,
So we want para base wage at $15.
What percentage does that represent?
I don't have the exact percentage, it's 7.4%
Increase.
increase. And that's total package.
And when you say total package,
That's taking into account, we have some classified employee, we don't break it down by paras, bus drivers,
Right.
office staff. So we have some 12-month employees that have access to insurance. Everybody has access to retirement that we're paying towards. We do a retention, I guess we call it retention bonus, but anybody who comes back after working with us for a year gets an additional $1,000, $500 in December, $500 in May, just as an added piece for retention. Social Security is figured into that, just like negotiation.
which of those are 12-month positions? And how many people are eligible for insurance?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 probably. Just a quick glance.
And how many classified staff do we have, roughly?
Total, and that's including, so part of that comes out. Part of that comes out even though we paid for it through school nutrition, but the cafeteria staff would not be included in our total number this year. Looking at it, we probably have 75 to 80 classified staff.
Would it be safe to say with the retention bonus of $1,000, they're actually making more than 15 bucks an hour? Because they're not,
I'm just gonna randomly choose somebody here.
they're not 50-week employees. So $1,000 is $5 a week, 50 cents times 40 is 20 bucks. So I'm saying they're making more than 15 bucks. I'm not arguing with it.
No, I'm just
saying
saying,
I
one thing
forgot
that-
about the retention bonus.
One thing to look at too is whether we want to do it as a retention bonus or put it on the check. Sometimes, and I don't know what your data tells you about whether that's actually working as a retention tool, but one thing to look at is is it actually retaining people, or would they prefer to have that
The
extra
guarantee,
money on
yeah.
the check as opposed to waiting for 500 here and 500
Sure.
there? That's just a strategy that might help.
I truly think that if you take that retention bonus off the table, people are gonna scream.
Okay.
Because I'm already getting asked about it in November.
If it was put on the check though, and we message that.
Even if they got more money, because we
Yeah.
were allowed to give them additional money?
I don't know that that would be communicated, like, even if you communicate it, I don't think that message is gonna be received. I really don't.
And are you hearing from just a couple? Like, that's anecdotal, right, as opposed to looking at the entire population and saying, is this actually impacting the 75 to 80? Because I don't know, is it 1, 2, 3, 5, and that's a really small percentage?
It's 100% anecdotal, but it's also 100% you walking down the hallway and I'm saying, Melissa, and there will be 6 parents in a group. Melissa, are we getting our retention bonus in December? And I mean, I feel that at that level, that's Christmas money. You know, they're holding on to that. I
Okay.
truly feel that if you pull that off the table, that will be a hardship.
The other thing you could do is survey them, ask them what their preference would be.
And how much of that bonus on a yearly basis to the paras actually would be, if you took it away and put it into their salary, what would it look like? What would their hourly actually be?
Do they tax the retention bonus?
So,
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, it's very
Oh, yeah.
high rate too.
Yeah.
They will get
Or
more
by using it through.
putting it on the check than they do in retention bonus.
just on a gross, if you figure 7.5 hours a day, 179 days a year, just as a number to plug in, that's 1,342.5 hours in a year. The $1,000 ends up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 cents.
And on
Per
that,
hour.
if we ramp that up into their paycheck, they're also having retirement taken out of that amount, so you're also taking another 8% off of that $500. So what we do now is they get a paycheck, and then I run another payroll without the retirement taken out of it, because it is a bonus. Usually the $500 isn't enough to up that tax percentage. So, but they do have the benefit of not having retirement taken out, where if you roll that extra dollar amount into their payroll, they are going to have that extra.
But also, you gotta remember, retirement's going to them down the road.
Yeah.
There's money going back to them indirectly.
And bonuses have to be taxed at about
Yes,
50%.
yes.
I mean, that's not optional, so we need to make sure we're taking the right amount of taxes out of that.
That's something then that they can look down, just look at
Yeah.
it both ways and.
Absolutely. And if you do have a way to just do a survey, I don't know,
I will do
I'm
my
with
best.
you though, I get what you're saying though,
Yeah.
but they're expecting it, they use it for Christmas, I get it.
They already have it on their calendars and they're good.
yeah,
So-
which is, if that's what the data tells us, absolutely we should put that.
Okay.
But if we could also move that as close to 15 as possible, because that is what we're gonna compete against.
On average, how many pairs do we try to refill every year?
How many do we try to read?
How many do we have to hire for annually?
How many vacancies?
How many vacancies, thank you.
Are we ever full?
We're never full, and I can't tell you how many that is. Shelley used to do a lot of work with that. It's a constant churn.
Do we lose many during the year?
Some. I wouldn't say many, but as a product of an entire list, there's a few.
Few. And every one of them that leave impact particular teachers and kids that they're working with.
So what's our motion today?
So can I have just a percentage number that I'm not to exceed, and I'll work from there? With the idea that if we can get $15 as beginning para wage, that we get to $15.
So can you tell me what of the 4% represented? How much was that going to cost?
1450?
No, total. the 4% increase, what was the budget impact at
Total
12%?
budget. So in classified staff, that is 115,000.
So how could going up less than 100% have a $250,000 impact on top of that? Or you were saying that would have been total?
No, what I did is I doubled it.
Okay, so we're already at 110.
Yeah,
You were saying you'd need another 110.
correct. So if that number were placed at 8%, which is what I punched in, if that number were placed at 8%, that would be the total cost. That would get us to being able to go to $15 for paras. More than likely, we would be under that percentage in the grand scheme, but that would safely give me the guardrails to get there.
So if we gave you 7% with the goal of trying to get to 15 as a starting point.
Not to exceed 7%, is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Would
Make a
that get
motion
us-
not to exceed 7%, and if it's 6.5,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
Would that get
okay.
us close,
Yeah.
at least?
Okay.
Should be able to get close.
And when does that vote for utilizing up to 6% come around again?
September.
Well, if you keep that in mind
Right.
as well.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Alex?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yep.
Mike?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
5.2, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action to increase the regular substitute teacher rate, starting with the 25-26 school year.
This is something we haven't addressed for several years. In an effort to stay competitive, I would recommend going up to 160 from 145. I would say 160 is probably a little over the midpoint from districts that we've surveyed, but the problem is we're not very far from Lincoln and Omaha, and when you get into those areas, they might go as high as $200 for a sub, and you might go 20 miles west of us and it's 140 for a sub. So with similar sized districts fairly close to us, I think 160 keeps us competitive, though I could see this being addressed on a more regular basis than we've done in the past.
I saw that Meade is doing, like, for the first 5 days, it's 160 a day. Days 6 through 10, 175, and if they work 11 plus days, it's 190 a day.
Yeah, so we have something similar with long-term subbing. Not individual subbing, but if, like, somebody's out on maternity leave, or you're going to serve an extended period of time, there's a rate hike after, is it 10 consecutive? 20 consecutive, which we can move to 10 consecutive if we want to, but after so many consecutive days, then we have a wage hike with subs as well.
Di, was that consecutive, or was it just over the course of a year?
Through the month. I know LPS, if you sign up to sub on, like, every Monday of the month, then they give you like an extra day. I think it's 175 there. And if you work every Monday, then they give you a bonus of 175. And they also do that on Fridays. So,
Those must be their high
yeah, well,
sub
yeah,
days.
of course it is.
Yeah.
So that was what you just said was?
Meade, I just saw
per-
the paper.
Per month?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Are we still struggling?
Oh,
with
that's
subs?
per month,
Yeah,
not over the
No.
course of the year.
correct.
Per month.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, I was gonna say that's.
but it didn't say anything about consecutive days, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, it just says 6 to 10 days.
But they make up
Over
for
a
a month.
month.
Yep.
Do we struggle with sub?
Yeah, everybody does.
I'll make a motion to approve 160 for sub pay.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second. Second.
Discussion. Alyssa?
So along with that, so Alex?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
5.3, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action to approve pay application number 25 submitted by MCL.
Okay, so this is actually last month's pay app. haven't seen this month's pay app yet. $163,236.16.
BVH and Russ are good with it? Okay. Questions for Brandon? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Alyssa?
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
5.4. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action in adopting a pre-kindergarten policy.
So I want to put this back in front of you guys. We had a draft policy before that was discussed. I think the most conversation was around criteria and how that whole thing worked. Not something that has to be decided tonight, but I would ask for a little more definitive direction from the board as to if there's something that needs done, what needs done.
The policy committee feel good about it, where we're at? I guess it was
I
on.
do.
Brett, Bob, and Renee.
Feel good about it, Renee?
The only thing I don't like is that it does not address how selection's gonna be made. Right?
As far in a tie situation.
Yes, and so I understand the priorities, but if we get
Everybody's equal.
25, and I can't say I have a particular preference for how that is, but I do think that it should be transparent. We should tell people if we have 5 spots and 10 people in exactly the same priority group, let's just tell people how we're deciding.
It's gonna be a lottery, say it's gonna be a lottery, it's gonna be this, we're
What-
gonna, yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think, let's be clear about how that decision is going to be made.
Okay.
That would be and I'm happy to, take Ben's recommendation, but I do think that we want to be clear in the policy on
Yep.
that, so
Okay.
I think that protects him and it protects us.
So, outside of that, I mean, do we
Yeah.
need to do
No.
anything that
I'll
tonight?
bring it back
Bring it
next
back.
month.
So then, with that
Just-
recommendation for
Yeah,
that,
with the blood policies.
see if that, okay.
Any other feedback?
If there is a lottery or whatever, just make sure it describes who is going to, I don't know if we're throwing balls out of a hat or a random computer picks them or whatever it is, just so we don't have to talk about it again.
Yeah, just tell them what the source is, how we're
Just
doing
how
it.
it's gonna be
Yep.
picked, chosen, decided, deciphered, whatever.
Got it.
5.5, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action to approve the 5-year strategic plan.
Okay, I sent out that email. I think there's a meeting this week
Yep.
on Thursday.
Yes,
Anything
committee.
to talk about with the board?
No, apologies that we weren't able to get it done before this publication was available this Thursday, so we're meeting Thursday evening to go over the data she shared and ask questions and potentially come back with a recommendation.
Okay.
And whatever plan we adopt, pretty sure I heard her say that we can make changes to that next year, the following, at any point when we say, this is working great, but this isn't, so.
Yep.
Great.
Copy. 5.6, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action in considering personnel hirings and or resignations. Beautiful. Items for next meeting.
Hey, one last thing, media center, media platform in the gym,
Oh, yeah.
where's that at? No, Brian, is that on your list?
Put it on the list. I don't have an answer. I know we got the okay.
Yep.
Um,
City gave us a green
I
line.
don't know where it is.
Probably with one of the subs.
I'll no comment on that one, because I can tell you what it's told me.
Other items for next meeting?
I got strat plan, potential vehicle purchase, track RFP, Americanism committee,
Policies.
policies.
All of kindergarten, pre-kindergarten.
Hearings.
I'm excited to see what food's gonna be like this year.
Yeah.
And two.
Feel good about that group and.
I feel as good as I'm gonna feel kind of being blind. I mean, I see what they've done at other schools, I've seen on paper what offering's gonna look like. long as that's what it is, we're in good shape.
Have they expressed to you any challenges that they typically see in year one?
Newness. Their big drive will be encouraging participation and getting more kids involved in participating in school lunch, whether that's actually eating it, talking about menus, service, any of it, they try to get kids involved, so.
Good. And there's
Samples.
certainly been plenty of them that have been frustrated, so it's great getting involved.
Have they shared a menu with you?
Sample menu, they had to submit a 21-day menu. And within the RFP, we asked that they offer two hot entree choices and a cold choice. So completely arbitrary, they might offer hamburgers, spaghetti and meatballs, and a cold cut sandwich. That would cover what they do. And then breakfast has to be a hot entree and a cold, so pancakes and cereal or
Heck,
whatever.
yes.
Choices would be nice.
So, options.
I'll come up and eat.
Did it open up to the public?
Yeah, we'll put it in.
Absolutely.
Big nice.
Great.
That's what I got.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, guys.
So you would've got,
I have a certified letter from Sandra.
yes,
What do I, it doesn't say anything to do, it just says,
No, but here's what it is, so, we have the development students, every school gets, we have to send to school at 15 different places. For whatever reason, you're approved, because of the date on yours, doesn't meet the time, I just gotta have something from you saying that you have no problem with the
Yes, and I'm not
subdivision.
sure
It's
the
basically
data
we're breaking up
supports
lots
what
myself.
they
That's all
selected.
it is.
so
So
if
I
I put
really
something on
wanna
letter,
ask
that's
them.
my signature saying, we got this, we
Yeah,
approve
we're
it,
good. I'm good.
send it to you, or,
You can send it to me, I get to mention, I mean, you can email it to me.
yeah, I'll just send an attachment.
That's all I need. 'cause
I'll
you-
do it in the morning.
And then you OPPD and somebody else,
Okay,
I'm just like, you serious?
yep, I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Oh,